Over the years, there's been many updates to my video game setup, so I'm going to show you what's new since last time I've done one of these type of videos. I'm doing this on an iPhone because it's a lot easier to handle while I can do all this here. So the biggest update that I have is that I'm having on these, all the systems are on these rolling shelves, so that makes it a lot easier so you can get behind to mess with all the wires, because you always tend to think that or I always tend to think that whenever I hook up everything, I always assume that I never have to go back there again. I did it, it's done, but you always end up having to change something out. There's always a console that needs to get disconnected, like my TurboGrafx 16 is not working. That needs to get repaired, things like that. My Atari 7800 I got modded by our friend Richard, who helps us out with lots of stuff, made the Nintoaster and all that. It's modded with a RCA output instead of that coaxial shit. So now, where the hell is it? Yeah, it's right here. There we go. Oh, that is awesome. Now you could play. I mean, what's great about RCA cables is that, I mean, I guess quality is one thing, but also that you could put it into all these switchers. They don't really make, well, they do. They make RF splitters, but anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. The whole thing about the rolling table is that it's easier to get behind there. And another thing is that if you have a console with a really short wire, and I'm sitting over here on my couch, I can actually roll this table all the way out to the couch. If you have a system with a controller with a really short wire like the Famicom, and there's also extension cables for controllers, so you can, that's another solution. I'm going to roll this back in here, and let's see, what should we talk about here? I guess let's talk about how everything's set up. I guess we start with the TV. It's a new TV. Hey, so it's mostly for modern consoles. This type of TV isn't made for older consoles, but I got it because I wanted it to mount on the wall. Otherwise, this whole rolling shelf idea would have never worked, because with the big CRT TV sitting on top of it, it's on top of the shelf. There's not really much you can do. And now I even have shelves above this, which is all my Super Nintendo games. So anyway, there's an HDMI cable going into the TV, and that's going into FrameMeister. So I'm working my way backwards here. The FrameMeister is basically like, this is an upscaler. There's several settings on it, which helps you play games on a newer TV without there being as much of a delay, because there can be a little bit of a lag because of the TV not being made for older consoles like this. On my remote controls, this is a really weird TV. This TV, for some reason, it's the only TV I've ever seen in my life that does not have a power button. You need to use the remote. So yeah, don't lose the remote if you get a TCL Roku TV. All right, no power button anywhere on the TV. Crazy. This is the FrameMeister remote. It was in Japanese, but I got a English overlay for it. I wish this would focus here. There you go. Yeah, so this is an overlay sticker that I put on it. I still have to get the system itself, or the actual on-screen menus, to be updated to English. There's a way to do that. Actually, Mike is going to help me with that. Here's the remote for the camera, because every time I'm always on the couch filming, I like to turn the camera on and off with that. This is the DVD-R, the DVD recorder. So yeah, the DVD recorder, that's how all the game footage is recorded. So every console, I'll back up, I'll go to the beginning. Every console goes into a switcher. Then from the switcher goes into the DVD recorder. And from the DVD recorder into the FrameMeister, and then it becomes an HDMI or an HD signal that goes through an HDMI cable, I guess you'd say, into the TV. And that's the whole story. The switchers now, they don't make 20 switch. I mean, I think they do, like some kind of industrial versions they have to have somewhere, but these did not exist when I started doing nerd videos. I think it was very rare to find something that had 8. They'd usually go up to 4 for some reason. That sucks. It would be like this, like, what are you gonna do? 4? I mean, most people don't have 20 video game systems hooked up to one thing. But so these things became more common in recent years for some reason. They've turned up on eBay. You can get it on Amazon, and they're pretty cheap. I forget what these were. I think I might know what the price, but I don't want to say it because I might get it wrong. But with this 8 switches, there's no power supply, which is awesome. You do not have to plug this into anything. It doesn't have to take up another receptacle. So basically, I have, you see, A, B, and C. So basically, well, let's see. I'm trying to figure out myself now. If I want to go to B, I switch this, and then I have everything else labeled for Sega Master System, Genesis, Saturn, Dreamcast, Neo Geo CD, PlayStation 2, and then if I switch it to B, I have Famicom, NES, Super Nintendo, CDI, Nintendo 64, GameCube, 7800, and then switcher C has Jaguar, TurboGrafx 16, 3DO, and one extra space, which is amazing that I have an extra space here. So this switcher is connected to everything here. This one is connected to everything on this shelf. Let me show you something on the Genesis here. Yeah, I know. The 32X, I don't have it connected all the time because a lot of games don't tend to work on it for some reason. A lot of times, it'll work better if I just take another thing away, which is the 32X, obviously, just getting everything all complicated. But here I have letters so that I can tell what needs to be connected to what, because the 32X is like this insane mess to connect. So I have all these letters showing me the wires. Okay, so now here's I'm going to show you station number 2, but let me explain something for a minute. The FrameMeister, like I said, it still has a little bit of a delay. I don't think it's perfect. I think the only perfect way is to play old games, you got to play it on an old TV, an old CRT TV. And that is why I have another connection. So all I have to do, if I want to play on a CRT TV, I just unplug this here. I plug in the CRT TV, and this wire is connected all the way past here. I've been filming some stuff lately, and so here's where the Commodore 64 is set up, and here's the CRT TV. So here I could play old games. Got the Vectrix here, still there. And let me turn a light on here for a minute. There we go. All right, so here you go. Here's the TV, and right next to it is the DVD recorder and the whole setup. So basically what we have going on here is we have that RCA cable from the other connection is going into this recorder here, and then this is going into the TV. Simple as that. So that way I can play them on a CRT TV, but also record it as well. As you can see, all the VCR side of these things always break for some reason, but it's not of any concern really. The whole idea is to be able to record still, this station here is also made for playing game consoles that have a coaxial connection. They use an RF signal going through a coaxial wire, which is this shitty, bullshit right here. I mean, obviously we know it's an unreliable signal. It always gets very staticky, all that kind of stuff. But also just kind of it's more of a pain in the ass to connect. And it's strange to think this same exact cable. I mean, I don't know the technical stuff as well, but for some reason this coaxial cable still exists to this day. It's the same thing we use for internet and cable TV. It's weird to think that this also was old video game consoles, and it's now outdated, but not outdated for internet and TV. I don't know. It's just weird. Somebody with more technical knowledge could explain it. Maybe there's some kind of difference. But this is a splitter right here. So this is a coaxial. This is an adapter, because you know how those games, they had those shitty boxes. I explained this in the, I think, the Nerd Pong Consoles episode. I'm trying to get this to focus, by the way. So anyway, this is 2 different kinds of connections. So basically the whole idea is that anytime I want to play, if I want to dig out the Atari 5200 or the Color Sport 8 or some stupid weird old thing like that, I plug it in there. And this right here, you wouldn't believe how rare this is, but basically coaxial to RCA adapters do not really exist other than this thing here, which is called a RF demodulator. It's very rare. I searched for days and found only one on eBay. It was like 75 bucks or something. And the thing is, you can do the same thing on a VCR. If you plug a coaxial cable into a VCR, there's an RCA output, and that outputs the signal. So there obviously exists some kind of converter inside of this, some kind of adapter inside of the VCR. If you could just take whatever that is out, then you would have this. So it would have been cheaper for a VCR, but I didn't want to have another huge oh, let me back up. This thing has no coaxial input. I have never found a DVD recorder that has a coaxial input, except for Mike. For some reason, Mike has one. It's a Magnavox brand, and it has a coaxial input. I eventually found the same model on eBay. God forbid if you can find it with the remote, because so many people sell them without the remotes and without all the buttons. You know, how's it going to function? You're not going to be able to go through the menus and everything to be able to finalize a disc, whatever. So anyway, I found one finally. It had a remote. Or no, I had to get the remote separate or something. It worked, I thought, and then I tried to burn a disc for the first time. It didn't work. Tried 3 different brands, didn't work. So try the same brand that Mike used, didn't work. So basically, I got a broken model. This is different. Now I got another one. This one, well, it's one of my older ones. Doesn't have a coaxial, so basically I have to get some kind of adapter to do it. Now what's really weird is that RF modulators, which is the opposite of this, it's basically an RF modulator is RCA input, coaxial output. So that's if you have an old TV that doesn't have RCA input, and those things are common. You can find RF modulators everywhere. This, on the other hand, an RF demodulator, the opposite, which I've already explained. Coaxial in, RCA out. And then it goes into a switcher. I have a free one here, which is great, so that anytime if I want to plug something else in there, Commodore 64, that's for the coaxial shit. And then this is the main, my main station. So if I'm playing a game over there, then I can, you know, connected to here. Whew, now I think that's about all there is to say.